Many felt he wasn't the right man to take over after a certain Simone Inzaghi left Inter Milan. But guess what? Inter Milan are champions of the Italian Serie A thanks to the fine work of Christian Kivu. Welcome to another exciting edition of your favorite show, Sports Pizza. Edwin Onyebulis here in the building. It was a weekend loaded with so much action. Formula One back on our screens. We had tennis, we had football, and plenty of actions this weekend. We're going to dissect all of that on today's show. Don't forget, one of the juiciest parts of the show, the favorite part of the show, is the Tipsters Corner, and we have Bankole Aduni as our in-house analyst. Welcome once again to Sports Pizza. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll set the ball rolling. Welcome back once again. It is Sports Pizza, and it's my pleasure to once again introduce Banky. Welcome, Banky. How you doing?
I'm not really good.
Yeah.
Although it was
Inter.
It was an exciting weekend of football, but we, especially me, the president of the CCC members, that's the Christian Kivu critics. But he threw eggs on our face.
Yeah.
And congratulations.
I told you.
But I think I'm going into next season. The microscope will be on his work in Europe. I think Inter are clearly the best team in the Serie A. They clearly have the best squad also in the Serie A. Not to take anything away from Christian Kivu, I think he has done an amazing job. So it's always going to be difficult to take over from a certain Simone Inzaghi. 2 Champions League finals in 3 years. That is a difficult standard to keep up to. But I still think he has done something Simone Inzaghi might have fumbled at, which is dominating in the league. I think for that squad, Simone Inzaghi might have underachieved in the league. And Christian Kivu looks like a man who probably might not go through that route. He might be the type to dominate in the league and not necessarily do well in Europe. But regardless, this is a huge victory for Inter Milan, a huge victory for Christian Kivu.
But still with Inter Milan, you look at this squad going into next season, like you said, it's a team that are the best in Italy, but not necessarily one of the best in Europe. For them to compete in Europe, Banky, the last time they won the Champions League was in 2010. I think in this moment is a stretch to put them in that favorite stack. But where must they strengthen to give themselves a fighting chance against biggest teams in Europe?
I think my opinion about Inter Milan and their summer recruitment going into next season is quite unpopular. I'm of the belief that at some point they should consider selling Barella for huge money. I think it is something that would help in terms of rebuilding that squad as a whole. I think their biggest defense on the mission to win the last 2 finals that they got to was their defense. The defense of Acerbi, Milan Skriniar, and the likes. I think they still need Bastoni also. I think they still need to improve in that aspect. I have not been impressed by Akanji, especially in the Champions League. I've not been impressed by Bisek, especially in the Champions League. I think they need to put in a bit of money into the defense line. They need a new goalkeeper, obviously. Jan Sommer, of all of the good things he has done in the past, this season he has been rubbish, to be polite. Up front also, Lautaro Martinez is good, but I think he needs a good, partner. Marcos Thuram is inconsistent. Boni, is inconsistent. Esposito is quite young, so I think they need a player with a semblance of X factor, going forward. DiMarco has been really good. I don't know if the back 3 system would be, as functional as it was this season. But if you are going to replicate this level in the Champions League, I think a new goalkeeper, a new defense, and probably someone with a bit of X factor up front.
Let's focus on the rest of the league, the likes of Juventus, Milan, and Napoli. I'm going to keep Como aside because that's a very special case. You look at these sides, what must they do to try to dethrone Inter Milan next season?
I think it's going to be difficult because Inter Milan has done something that a lot of teams in Italy have failed to do, which is getting it right in terms of recruitment. Okay. And that has given them a head start, ahead of Juventus, ahead of Milan and Napoli. The closest to them is Napoli, and I think Napoli fumbled the bag in this summer, bringing in Højlund, bringing in Kevin De Bruyne, bringing Lorenzo Luca. I think that took them a bit down in terms of their level. I thought they had gotten to a ceiling, and for them to go past that ceiling was to do well in the transfer market, and they didn't. Even even Sam Bukeme that they brought in from Bologna has been riddled with injuries all through the season. So I think Inter Milan has been very good. Giuseppe Marotta, who is probably one of the best sporting directors, not just in Italy but also in world football. He has done it with Juventus and is currently doing it with Inter Milan. I think that has given them an advantage. So for Juventus, Milan, and Napoli, I think what they need to do is to understand that you probably might not get close to Inter, but the only thing you can do is to get close to the point where you can compete favorably and hope for Inter to have a bad season like they did when Napoli won the league. You need to get it right with your recruitment. You can't keep on going and trying to bring in the Luka Modric of this world, the Adrian Rabiot of this. Yes, it might work out, but on the long run, I don't think it is viable in terms of winning the Scudetto. I don't think it is viable, in terms of challenging, in Europe. Especially for Juventus, look at the amount of players that they brought in. Nico Gonzalez was brought in, Jonathan David was brought in, Dusan Vlahovic at some point was also brought in for a huge amount of money, and none of them have worked out. I don't think they are going in the sense of a project in terms of their recruitment. They are just thinking short-term-ish, not long-term. For their Milan were in the Scudetto race in January, and guess who they went to bring in as their striker, Niklas Füllkrug. So it shows you the problem. I think for a very long time, either Guntoli at Juventus or Iglitari, at AC Milan, it has been a problem of sporting directors not understanding the needs, of their club side, and that is something that needs to be corrected this summer.
All right, away from the Italian Serie A, let's quickly touch on the Spanish La Liga. And Bancoli, I'm looking at a case where Barcelona will win the Spanish La Liga in front of their arch rivals. It is the El Clasico this weekend. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, it is. If they go on to defeat Real Madrid, which is not far-fetched, considering the form of both teams. I think if I was a Real Madrid fan, I wouldn't know which is worse. If giving a guard of honor.
I don't think they're going to give a guard.
No. I'm even saying, like, hypothetically, is giving a guard of honor worse than Barcelona winning the La Liga in your stadium? I think I'll be in a bit of a conundrum for a Real Madrid fan because given if they had won this weekend or if they had won the league this weekend, it would be up to Real Madrid to decide if they were to give them a guard of honor next weekend. But I think for Real Madrid, it's a game of pride. It's a game of I don't think they have anything to win or lose this season anymore aside from their ego and their pride.
Just postpone the celebration.
Exactly, and ensure that you don't have Barcelona fans reining it in or Barcelona players reining it in front of a very volatile Santiago. And I think, for Barcelona, it is easy peasy. It has been very easy for them this season. Injuries to Lamine Yamal has not proved, have not made the journey, as smooth as it should be. But in terms of competition, in terms of their nearest rival, it has been way too easy for them. And congratulations to Hansi Flick.
Away from the Spanish La Liga, we head straight to England. Bancoli, is the momentum now with Arsenal?
I wouldn't say the momentum is on Arsenal, but I'll most likely say the pressure is on City. I don't think it's a case of momentum anymore. Okay. I think City are now at the point where they have the league title to lose. It was a couple of months ago a couple of weeks ago where the onus was on Arsenal, but now I think the onus is on City. They need to win their matches and they need to score quite sizable number of goals. And for City, it is a team that I'm not convinced that can handle that amount of pressure. I think being the chasing pack is easier than retaining your lead. And for Arsenal, you can clearly see how things are clicking at the right time. Yes, they've survived the hideous month of April for them and Arteta. Bukayo Saka is back and is playing out of his skin. Eze seems to be also picking up a bit of steam. Victor Gyökeres is scoring goals. It looks like the defense is also back to being at its absolute best that it was at the start of the season. So I think the pressure is going to be on Man City. It is up to them to go to away to the Dickinson or wherever it is that will be playing to ensure that they keep up with Arsenal. Not even keep up, it's still in their hands. You win your last 3 games with sizable number of goals and you probably will be league champions. But I still think it's a case of pressure, and Arsenal have done a good job in shifting that pressure to City. And
Manchester United have qualified for the Champions League next season in 14 Premier League games since he took charge on the 17th of January. I hope I'm correct with that stats. Michael Carrick has won 12, drawn 2, and lost 2. If you check the form table since he joined the club, he's first for number of points, first for number of goals, or joint first for number of goals, second best goals difference since he joined the club. Has it done enough? Because the question is still, is it the right man? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in and even did better than this, blah, blah, blah. should United take their time to get the right manager, or you think Michael Carrick has come in a period where there was a lot of uncertainty at the club and his brought that calmness that exemplified his playing career? Has he done enough to get a job on a permanent basis?
I think if it was any other club side, he probably would have done enough. But for Manchester United, it seemed that in a quite delicate situation, it is always going to be difficult, to choose a permanent manager. And I think no matter the choices, it's always going to be a risk. You compare him, you put him side by side with the names that are being linked to the job, Iraola, the Glasners of this world. I don't think choosing Michael Carrick is a bigger risk than choosing Iraola. Both in their own rights are inexperienced in terms of challenging for the big things. Iraola also have not exactly played, has not exactly coached in a team that is playing in the Champions League and the Premier League. Same thing can be said for Michael Carrick. But the only thing Michael Carrick has going for him is the devil that you know. He's the guy who has come in, he's the guy who has given you results. So if you go for a certain Iraola and he comes in and things go back to the Amorim days, then you start having questions over the head of the decision makers at United. So the comfortable choice would be to go for Michael Carrick. But if you want to go for a risk, you can go for the Raiolas of this world. I only think the only manager or the only set of managers who should be ahead of Michael Carrick in the pecking order are probably the Nagelsmanns of this world, the Enriques of this world, are the managers who have experience, managers who have coached for the bigger teams. I don't think Michael Carrick is a bigger risk, than Iraola. As a matter of fact, if I was a Manchester United fan, I would be much more comfortable with the Michael Carrick than Iraola or Glasner.
United fans, so what do you think? Let us know in our comment section. All you have to do is just follow us on our social media platform and leave a comment. Let's go on a short break. When we return, there's more on the show. It is Sports Pizza. Don't go nowhere. Welcome back from that short break. It is the second half of the show. Edwin and Bankole still in the building. Go straight to Miami. Bankole, Formula One back after a 5-week break, and we saw Mercedes kick up. Not even Mercedes, Antonelli pick up from where he left. Third consecutive win, a 20 points advantage on the table. It feels like he can't do no wrong. Still 19 years.
I mean, it's always going to be difficult to do any wrong with that car, especially when you consider the quality gap between the Mercedes car and the rest of the grid. I think for Antonelli, especially for a driver at that very young age, it's always going to be difficult to gauge his ability with his experience. And I think he has done a very good job. 3 consecutive wins in Formula One, in this Formula One season. And for someone who he had his first win of his career this season, you wouldn't know, from the way he's driving. And I also think the team has done a good job in terms of rallying around him. For a driver like George Russell, you would think he would want to force his authority, especially when it comes to drivers' hierarchy. But I think he has done a good job in being a bit laid back so far. The season is quite long. I think the team, in terms of their tactics, have also catered to him whenever he has had the advantage. So for Antonelli, I think for a 19-year-old, I think this is really good. Shame that for a season that I thought Ferrari would come through, once again, I'm being disappointed.
Yeah, it was Mercedes number one on the podium with the McLarens of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri completing the podium. For Max Verstappen, he moved up to 5th. For the other Ferrari, that's Lewis Hamilton, was 6th. You had just Russell at a 4th position. Away from that, straight up in tennis, Madrid precisely, he set a record. Yannick Sinner becoming the first tennis player in history to win 5 consecutive Masters. He's won all the Masters this year, and if you go back to Paris a couple of months ago, he won the Paris Masters. He's gone in for the 6th consecutive Masters in Rome, Italy, his home country. It feels like there's no stopping Yannick Sinner.
There is no stopping Yannick Sinner. I don't think I can come here and even analyze whatever it is that he's doing. I just think the gap between himself, and whoever it is that is second best at the moment, because I don't think Alcaraz, is available.
Yeah, he's out of the French Open also.
So I think it's an easy win to the French Open. I might be worried a bit about fatigue, but when you're even winning without dropping a set, you're dispatching games in 20-30 minutes. There is no need.
It was a whitewash.
There is no need. There is no need to worry about fatigue. But I think he's the undisputed best player at the moment, and it's going to be quite easy peasy for him.
And also, let me just put this in: the only guy.
Is it, before you put it in, is it a Novak Djokovic start?
Relax. The only guy who has done a career Masters record or win is Novak Djokovic. But guess what? Yannick Sinner is on the verge of equaling that. If he wins in Rome, he's going to be the second player to have won.
But just to big up Djokovic a bit, he had a better competition than what Yannick Sinner has at the moment. I don't think there is any competition in the ATP grid at the moment. I think it's just way too easy. But for Djokovic, he had to deal with quality players at his time. But I think for Sinner, I'm not going to take anything away if he goes on to break the record or if he goes on to win the Roland Garros. But I just think if I was Sinner, this is the best era of tennis for me to play in.
Definitely the best era for him in terms of the competition available. Before we do our video for the week, quick one. Something happened in Nigeria, and of course, boxing fans. If you're the real boxing aficionado, it's not your cup of tea. Well, for the average Nigerian, it was entertainment. Portable, Kataife, you had one of the biggest streaming platforms cover this celebrity fights, let me put it that way. The Zone was in Nigeria to cover it, Kataife versus Portable. What did you make of this? Is this a mockery of boxing, or you felt that maybe it's an entertainment and it is something that they need to explore more? I
think this is where we are in 2026 in terms of boxing. And my biggest takeout from that whole showbiz was that the fight between Portable and Kataife was the main event, and the undercards were actual boxing matches. Like actual boxing matches were the undercards leading to the main event, and you can clearly see how boxing has gone to the fourth burner. It is no longer the sport that it used to be. You look at boxing these days, and it is an avenue for entertainers to get a bit of
all about the clicks, all about views and money.
Even the show promoters are not even doing enough in terms of bringing actual boxing to the audience. It's all about who can bring in money, who can bring in
who's
crowd.
the most popular
To think that last week just before this fight, there was a big boxing event in Lagos around the mainland and it didn't create enough buzz as much as this Kataife. I don't have anything against it. Do what works for you. But my only problem is if you have actual boxing games being undercards to a mock fight, then it is worrisome for me.
There you have it. We need to go on the break right about now. Give you our video for the week. When we return, we'll wrap up the show with the Tipsters Corner. Welcome back. I'm sure you enjoyed that one. Straight up to the Tipsters Corner Bankole. We have two big games this weekend, the El Clasico and, of course, the Liverpool versus Chelsea.
Yeah, Liverpool versus Chelsea is a case of idiot twins. Going at it.
Champions League tickets on the line, by the way.
I think Liverpool are good. I think Chelsea would be concerned about European ticket, not even Champions League. They are way off. Villa about 6 points behind Villa, and you look at that. There's still a case of Bournemouth and Brentford to contend with. So I think this might be a very boring draw, but I wouldn't think Liverpool would lose. I think maybe a double chance Liverpool to score, basically should be something you might want to add to your ACA. For the El Clasico, over 2.5 seems on the card. I think both teams to score also is something that I would want to add to my haka. I'm not really convinced as to Barcelona winning. I think the absence of Lamine Yamal might play a part, in that. Also, I think Real Madrid might also have, Kylian Mbappe absence. But I think 2.5 both teams to score. Both teams and 2.5 seems very viable. All
right, there you have it. Remember, we're not responsible for any bet loss. We'll give you experts' opinion on the possible outcomes of these games. Remember, you have to be 18 years and above and always bet responsibly. This is where We draw curtains on today's edition of your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. Follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. And if you missed the previous editions of the show, or maybe you want to rewatch this particular edition, just head over to our YouTube page. We have a dedicated YouTube page. Just search for Sports Pizza and our videos will pop up. Do enjoy it. Enjoy all of the actions coming up this week. And of course, this weekend. We'll see you same time next week. I'm Banky. Always a pleasure having you on set.
Yeah, it's always nice to be here, Edwin. And from me to our viewers, have yourself a lovely, lovely weekend.
And from me, Edwin Onyebuli, it's a brand new month. Enjoy the month. Enjoy the action. See you same time next week.